There are places on this earth that feel older than time itself. Places where the wind does not simply blow, but seems to whisper through the rocks and valleys. Places where the ground beneath your feet holds secrets so ancient that every stone feels alive with memory. Kenya's Great Rift Valley is one of those places, a massive scar stretching across the African continent, through cliffs, dry riverbeds, and endless plains beneath a burning sky. It is beautiful. It is unforgiving. And in 1974, it was about to change humanity's understanding of its own origins forever. A convoy of dusty jeeps and supply trucks rolled slowly into the valley beneath the towering escarpments. Equipment crates were unloaded onto the cracked earth, while tents rose beneath the relentless heat. Scientists and workers moved with urgency, preparing for another long excavation season. At the center of the activity stood a young archaeologist named Dr. Richard Leakey. Focused, determined, and driven by instinct, he had come to this valley because he believed it was hiding answers, buried for millions of years. He felt this land was speaking, and he intended to listen. The excavation began with careful precision. Survey markers were placed into the ground, while excavation grids divided the earth into measured squares. Under the scorching African sun, the team brushed away dirt one layer at a time, screening soil for any trace of ancient life. Every movement required patience. Every fragment mattered. Leakey moved quietly through the site, watching every detail with sharp concentration. Born into a famous family of archaeologists, he understood the expectations resting on his shoulders. Yet he wanted more than inheritance. He wanted discovery. Day after day, the team worked beneath unbearable heat. Dust clung to their skin and filled the air around them as they dug deeper into the valley floor. The work was exhausting, but nobody stopped. They understood they were searching through layers of time itself. Leakey knelt beside one excavation trench, carefully brushing away compacted dirt, when suddenly a tool struck something solid beneath the surface. A brush swept gently across the ground. Slowly, the pale curve of ancient bone emerged from the earth. Leakey froze instantly. The entire world seemed to narrow down to that single fragile fragment exposed beneath the dust. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The bone had remained hidden for nearly 2 million years, untouched by human hands until now. What Leakey felt in that moment was not excitement alone. It was awe. As more of the fossil was uncovered, one of Leakey's colleagues approached the edge of the pit. Older and deeply respected in academic circles, the man studied the bone in silence before finally expressing doubt. To him, discoveries like this threatened decades of accepted scientific theory. Leakey listened carefully, but refused to back down. He believed the evidence spoke for itself. That evening inside the field tent, tensions erupted into open argument. Maps, diagrams, and notes covered folding tables, while voices echoed through the humid air. Leakey defended the significance of the fossils with growing intensity. He argued that Africa was not a secondary chapter in human history, but the very beginning of it. The discoveries in this valley suggested that humanity's earliest ancestors had evolved here millions of years ago. Not everyone was ready to accept such a dramatic shift in understanding. Criticism soon spread beyond the camp. Scientific journals questioned the discoveries, while newspapers published skeptical headlines about Leakey's conclusions. In universities thousands of miles away, respected scholars dismissed the findings as premature and exaggerated. They accused Leakey of allowing passion to cloud his judgment. But beneath the criticism was something deeper: fear that long-standing ideas about human origins might collapse under the weight of new evidence. Despite the attacks, Leakey continued the excavation with relentless focus. Under the blazing sky, he examined primitive stone tools scattered throughout the ancient soil. Rough, simple, but clearly shaped with intention, the tools revealed the presence of intelligent minds at work millions of years ago. Each new artifact strengthened the growing argument that some of humanity's earliest ancestors had once lived here in East Africa. Then came the discovery that silenced the camp. Deep within the excavation pit, the team uncovered jaw fragments, skull pieces, and hand bones arranged in the earth. The remains belonged to Homo habilis, handy man, one of the earliest known members of the human family. The scientists gathered silently around the pit, staring down at the bones of a being who had lived 2 million years earlier. Some covered their mouths in disbelief. Leakey stood motionless, staring into the past itself. This was more than a scientific breakthrough. It was a direct connection to humanity's ancient origins. For the first time, the evidence was impossible to ignore. The Rift Valley had become one of the most important archaeological sites on Earth. But discovery brought new conflict. Inside a dim storage room near the excavation site, wooden crates waited to transport African fossils and artifacts overseas to foreign museums and universities. Leakey stared at the boxes with growing anger. The pattern was painfully familiar. Treasures removed from Africa and claimed elsewhere. To Leakey, the battle was no longer only about science. It was about ownership, dignity, and history itself. He believed the story of human origins belonged to the entire world, but the evidence of that story belonged to Africa. The fossils had rested in African soil for millions of years. They were part of the continent's heritage, not trophies to be exported and displayed far away from the land where they were found. When the fossils were finally revealed to the international press, the world reacted immediately. Journalists crowded around display cases, while cameras captured close-up images of ancient skull fragments and stone tools. Microphones surrounded Leakey as he explained the significance of the discoveries with passionate conviction. The evidence before them was rewriting human history in real time. Some remained unconvinced, but the story could no longer be hidden. Once the world had seen the ancient bones of its distant ancestors, there was no turning back. The debate eventually moved onto a formal scientific stage. In a packed auditorium filled with scholars and researchers, Leakey faced one of his strongest critics beneath bright lights and projected diagrams of fossil remains. He argued carefully using geological evidence, anatomical features, and stone tool analysis to support his conclusions. Across from him, his opponent defended decades of traditional theory. The audience listened closely as two visions of human history collided before their eyes. Yet the most powerful moment happened far from academic conferences and university halls. In a village school courtyard near the excavation site, plaster replicas of the fossils were placed on simple wooden tables. Local children gathered around them, while elders watched quietly nearby. Small hands touched the replicas of bones that had once belonged to ancestors living millions of years ago. For many people there, this was more than science. It was pride. For generations, Africa had often been excluded from the center of historical narratives. Now the discoveries in the Rift Valley were placing the continent back where it belonged, at the beginning of humanity's story. One evening, as the sun disappeared behind the valley cliffs, Leakey climbed a ridge overlooking the excavation camp. Below him, the tents stood silent beneath the fading light, while the vast Rift Valley stretched endlessly into the distance. Ancient, immense, timeless. He reflected on everything the discovery had brought: the criticism, the politics, the pressure, and the responsibility. The fight was far from over, but he knew the truth buried beneath the earth could no longer remain hidden. And the valley endured, as it always had. Long after the excavation tents disappeared and the debates settled into history books, the fossils remained beneath museum glass, surrounded by the silent African night. After 2 million years, humanity finally understood where its story began. Not in distant institutions or comfortable theories, but here, in the ancient, sun-scorched earth of Africa, where the first chapter of human history was written.